Hello everybody, welcome to House of Hosting Heaven, and this is T for Travail, a corner of this platform where we dissect viral conversations and give them a Christian perspective. And I think many of us have intimately connected with this particular story that I want to cover. You'll probably have bumped into it on TikTok, on YouTube, Twitter, on TV, really. And it's a very sad story that all of us are experiencing as a collective. And it is the story of Titan. Titan is a submersible that has just recently went missing underwater. And there has been this extensive search for this submersible. And unfortunately, to date, we have not yet received any confirmation of any findings of this particular submersible. 4 people are on this submersible, 6 including the crew. It's very sad because one of them is a 19-year-old, 4 of them incredibly wealthy, which I really don't think as intercessors or anybody that's interested in praying for these people should really value or inflate. Their money has nothing to do with what's currently happening at the moment. From a prayer perspective, definitely their money gave them the privilege to have the experience that they enjoyed for a moment, which unfortunately has led them into this incredibly devastating scenario. But I think that as people that are intercessors at heart, or Christians or believers at heart, it must be very important that we take that aspect of the situation out of the equation, because it's very easy to get blinded by it and not pray for them or to pray for their families. All of us go through grief the same way. All of us mourn the same way. All of us experience pain and shock and panic. And I cannot imagine how the wives and the mothers of the people that are in the submarine are sleeping at night, not knowing where their loved ones are. And so I really plead with people that are watching this video to treat this as humanly as possible, so that God can give you a heart and a passion to pray for it. Something that I found extremely interesting, however, while I've been really just navigating social spaces, the interesting similarities between Titans, the Submerge, and Titanic, which is the bigger ship that they were actually going to look and observe and investigate and explore. Isn't it strange that these two particular vessels have the same name, which I'm finding very interesting, because I always ask in these videos, is God trying to communicate something to us? Is God trying to say something? Is God trying to prove something? Is this almost a battle of altars or a battle of gods? Because let me read this, because I don't want to miss anything. The submersible was called Titan, and the biggest ship that they were going to see was Titanic. And Titan is derived from the Titans of Greek mythology. So if you've ever read any Greek mythology, I haven't indulged in that kind of stuff, but it is said that they were Titans, and there were about 12 gods. These gods were Titans essentially, and there were about 12 of them. And I mean, you can go online and research for yourself if you're into that type of stuff. But I found it extremely fascinating that when these two vessels named themselves Titan, misfortune falls on them. Isn't it a strange thing? But listen to this, and this is for me the most interesting aspect about this whole conversation from a spiritual perspective. Titans actually means the gods of the underworld. The gods of the underworld. So both these vessels are called Titans, and both of them really meet their demise. And the people that created these vessels are really visionaries, and they are people that have very wild ideas, high lofty ideas, inventors that are very daring and bold and courageous. They want to change and sort of shake the status quo, and they create these vessels. One is extremely large, the other one is extremely small, but the intent is the same. It is almost to try and conquer the seas. It is to try to prove something to the seas, you know. The first one, it is to try to prove that a vessel so big can travel across the seas, you know. And this last one, it is almost as though a vessel so small and minuscule. Literally, these people were controlling this vessel like it was an Xbox or it was a video game. It literally had a control pad. It's strange to look at it and to think that people that are incredibly exceptional at whatever it is they did, because it essentially made them so wealthy. So we want to believe and we want to assume that they were exceptional minds in their industries, that they could trust the small vessel to take them underneath. And it's an experimental vessel for that matter, would take them at the bottom of the sea so that they could just sort of become a Titanic's tourist. I think that we are becoming a daring people, and it is both incredibly admirable, but it is also something that I don't know how well it sits on God's heart. I don't know how well our arrogance sits, how well this generation's arrogance sits on God's heart. And the audacity to name these vessels Titan, gods of the underworld. I'm saying a lot, and I'm also not saying a lot, but watch this video as I get ready to just essentially say, you know, really just share two things that I want us to pray for concerning this issue. This is where my heart is. I think this person clearly articulated and expressed where my heart is concerning this situation. Let's watch this together.
The passengers on the Titanic sub are gone, and I don't say that very lightly, but I was an anti-submarine officer. Let me explain some stuff. Around 1 o'clock today, articles said they had about 40 hours of breathable air, so they're down to about 37 now. But even if they find this submarine, which is going to be very difficult to pick up on sonar because of rocks and other objects in the water, they won't be able to actually lift this submarine out of the water or open any of the doors or hatches. When an object is, say, in the middle of the ocean, you have buoyant forces that can push up. But this submarine is at the very bottom, likely on the seabed, at 13,000 feet, which means that 100% of the buoyant forces is in the downward direction. It would literally take an act of God for that submarine to come back up. When I was in the Navy, we had what's known as the WQC-2 Gertrude. It's an underwater microphone you can basically listen. And while I was doing a tour in the Middle East, specifically in the Persian Gulf, there was an Iranian sub that went down to the bottom. And it was one of the saddest things because you wanted to help them, but we were not allowed to. And we could physically hear on the Gertrude the sailors banging on pipes, asking for help. There was nothing that we could do. At the beginning, there was lots of bangs. Bang, 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 bang. And as time progressed, the bangs got slower. Bang, bang. Pretty depressing, to be honest. So I don't really like saying it, but condolences to these individuals and their families. Like I said, it'll take literally an act of God to pull something like that 13,000 feet from under the water. And divers can't really help there. They could cut it open, but the second you do that, you'll have water pouring in it super fast. It would crush them on the inside.
After that video, I really agree with the person that filmed it. They are knowledgeable, they have experience. And really at this point, it's either the points that have been expressed in this video, which was filmed about 24 hours ago, or the fact that time has actually run out. And even if they were alive, they no longer have oxygen to breathe. And very few people are talking about this very interesting concept where if you have 6 people in a submerge, and we are clearly aware that we have oxygen and we're going to run out of oxygen, does the deepest, innermost fallen parts of a human being not try to save themselves by either eliminating one or two of them? We are either going to get the story of how all of this went, or we are never going to know what happened in that submerge, and we can only but speculate, and we can only but try to, analyze and psychoanalyze what probably would have happened if 6 human beings who had to fight for their lives were in the same space and they could see that the time was running out. My prayer points is really for us to pray. I want us to pray for the people that are doing their very best in this particular situation to retrieve these people or to look for these people. We have multiple layer, high top tier teams that are on the search team, and my prayer is that they are kept safe, because none of these people really signed up for this. They didn't sign up for this. The people that were in the submerge signed up for this, and this is not to blame anyone, because when you are in this type of scenario, all you need is prayers and a miracle. But I pray that the team is protected. And really the second prayer is pray for a miracle. Pray for a miracle, because at this point, in this hour, scientifically, I believe that they have now run out of oxygen if they have not yet been found. Or essentially, the narrative of the gentleman that's just spoken in that TikTok video is likely what would have happened. Let's pray for the families who potentially could be grieving for the next few days. And our hearts go out to them. May God be with them and their families in this very difficult time.